everybody, I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all are having a great day today. So today I thought that we would talk about the problems with non-duality. So in some previous videos I've made, you can go back and kind of watch what non-duality is and just some of my content about that. And I do have a playlist about non-duality. But essentially non-duality is the idea or the realization that everything is nothing. So you come to realize that literally everything is nothing. And usually to have this happen, it is a direct experience. So you experience this in a direct experience. So for me, it happened all in one moment. Okay. In that moment, it contained everything that I would come to know as my current reality. So this shift can just happen instantly like that. And I've also written a book about that. If you would like to read that, it is in the description box below. It goes along with my twin flame journey. So that book is called Love, Death, Nothing, and you can find it on Amazon. But anyhow, that is sort of a shift that happens instantaneously. And it can happen spontaneously, or some people could be working, on their spirituality, and they can have that awakening through that. There is plant medicine. There are so many different things that I am discovering that people are awakening from. So there is many things that can lead you or have you experience non-duality through direct experience. But one of the problems with non-duality is that if you haven't had that direct experience, then it isn't completely understood in the sense that it is embodied and felt, throughout as your truth. So there can be some misconceptions or, some misinterpretations of concepts or teachings that maybe people that haven't had that direct experience are sharing. So, or maybe just the ideas that people have about this and what this means for our reality. So the main problem with non-duality, and there are 4 key points, so please stay till the end to hear them all. The first one would be the idea that non-duality is a concept or like a religion or like a following of some kind. Non-duality is not a concept, nor is it a religion, nor is it anything that can be followed in any kind of way. So non-duality just is what is, okay? So it just is what this is here, what this reality is. It's a direct experience with life, and it's felt directly when the person is shifted into that. And I can tell you that because prior to that shift, I did not experience reality that way. I can kind of tell you I experienced reality kind of as like autopilot. Like I wasn't really feeling into everything. I wasn't seeing the colors as bright as they are. I wasn't feeling emotions as deep as they were. I actually wasn't seeing like the majority of my reality. I was just walking through life, going to work, doing things, with the family, and not really taking the time to see everything. So the world began to be seen after this shift. So it's a very clear change. And then it's also felt in this relief of the body, this relief of the mind, this relief of the whole sense of self goes away. Like you don't feel the heaviness of being a self and carrying all these different things that people carry with themselves, like guilt, shame, or I don't know, some sort of responsibility for something. All of that stuff falls away instantly when you realize that this is all just happening. It's just happening, and there is no one or any reason that anything's better or worse than the other. It's just the experience is completely raw, and there's no like thoughts or chatter behind anything. There's no commentary about what is. So what is just what is. So when you're looking at this video, there's no thoughts about, oh, I wonder what she does, after she does a video, or what does she do on her free time, or this or that, or I wonder, there's no thoughts. It's only just what is being experienced. So it's literally just the words coming out of my mouth and you just experiencing this. Or let's say it's, I wish I had some flowers or something here, something to show as a model for you. But for example, this is like a little thing to put out the flame on a candle. Okay, so let's say this, the direct experience of this is literally just this. It's to look at it and not have any thoughts behind it. I don't really know that it's a candle thingy or whatever. It's to experience it as it is and just see the weight of it, the color of it, without having to think about anything further than literally what is. Just seeing how interesting and beautiful it can be. And so you have this shift, the most mundane things become extraordinary. So like I say, this is something that is truly felt. With time, it begins to be embodied because everything is literally one. You begin to see everything that way, and you begin to treat life and everything around you that way. And it begins to get more and more embodied over time, and that will be shared and stuff in other videos, and you will kind of begin to see that. You begin to kind of fly above and just reality itself, and be able to kind of play a little bit with the mechanisms of reality and kind of see behind the scenes and all of these sorts of things. But non-duality in itself is not a religion, is not a concept. It's not something just meant to just be a certain way and you have to only do these certain things. No, everything in our existence is non-duality. Okay, there is no way to get away from that. That is it. This is everything. And it doesn't matter, it's not a religion. It doesn't matter if it's Christianity or Islam or Judaism or whatever, or it's not that non-duality is a separate religion. Non-duality is just pointing to what is the true nature of everything. Okay, Christianity, Judaism, all of those religions are non-duality. They're part of this all. Just like I'm part of non-duality, so is everything else. We could just cross out the word non-duality and call it reality. But if we called it reality, it just wouldn't be anything that anybody would be interested in. So we call it non-duality to kind of symbolize that it's not one, okay? It's not dual. But if you look around your actual experience of life, there is duality in play at every moment in everything that we experience. You can't shy away from that. So we'll go a little bit deeper into the next problem of non-duality, which is spiritual bypassing. So spiritual bypassing is when, the person themselves is using non-duality to bypass emotional or situations in their life that are problematic. So spiritual bypassing, if you just claim that, I'm just doing non-duality, I'm just living with what is and doing these sorts of things, and none of that matters because there is no self, and I've never done this. So if you watch non-duality videos or people that speak about this, especially if they're like the live streams and things like that, what I've noticed is that there's a lot of radical non-duality. Radical non-duality is mostly trying to kind of trying to just go the most radical you can, attacking the self to make the self realize that there is no self, okay? Because there is no self there, and eventually that will be seen. So what the speaker is trying to do is just kind of just make that clear, make that seen to the person. What's there actually is awareness that there is no self, that there is no individual self. And so that's what that's trying to do. And one of the ways that it's done, or that I've noticed that they do it, is a lot of times just reiterating that there's no one there. You're not doing this. So if there's no one there and you're not doing this, a lot of people can take that and misinterpret it, and just kind of bypass all of their emotional or, situational problems like that they currently have going on. So do you see how that could kind of be a problem for someone? Let's say, someone is having a problem within their marriage, and there's a lot of issues there, and this person begins to watch these videos and begins to believe a concept that there is no self. They don't experience this, because when you experience it with love, and you experience it with, I love everyone around me and I want everybody around me to be good like I am. So when you don't experience that, you could experience it in a negative way, where you could say, kind of bypass that whole issue of the marriage, and in turn your marriage begins to suffer more. Let's say it's a mental health issue and you believe that there's nothing to do about it, because another thing that I've noticed about live stream kind of non-duality shows is that they talk about that there is nothing to do, nowhere to get, nothing to change. And while that is in a way true because everything is here and now, you don't understand that unless you've directly experienced it. When you've directly experienced it, you realize that everything is in existence literally right now. So there's nothing wrong. Whatever is happening has happened. It's here. It's not that it's happened in the past, it's already literally here. And so it can't be any other way. It's perfect how it is. It's already here. It can't be changed. But what you can do, kind of like the next thing that you kind of realize after non-duality, in my case, was that you can choose. You can choose out of many, many realities, okay? Many infinite amounts of realities where you want to shift to. And to shift to that is still a human experience. There's still a human element that, can get in the way a little bit, but at the same time, you can shift. You can move into different realities, and the more that you do this, the easier that it is, and the more that you become expansive in the way that you can literally choose whatever reality you want. But unless you've had that direct experience, you're experiencing a concept that's saying there's no self there, so there's no responsibility there, so there's nothing to do. That is not what this is. This is full of love. This is full of caring. This is full of passion. This is full of like wanting to be in unity and connection with everybody. You wouldn't ever want to like ignore a situation. If there is a situation that comes up, it's exciting. I used to bypass emotions. I would say that not because I was believing into any kind of non-dual concept, but just because that was my learned way of being, mostly human nature and stuff. So if I felt angry or uncomfortable or sad, I would bypass that, maybe watch Netflix, I don't know, go out with friends, try to get my mind off of that. And so many people do that. That's just natural, right? That's just something that a lot of people do. But it's not the healthy way to do that. And as you mature, you learn that. But if you have a shift in your perception, like, happened to me, or if you have a non-dual awakening, that's all seen. It's seen how beautiful life is, how beautiful and perfect life is, how everything happens just how it should, and how, like, let's say an angry emotion comes up or a sad emotion comes up. That's life in play. That's beautiful. That's what animates. Like when someone gets sad, then that allows for someone else to come in and make it happy. Or, it's a dual play that's always in play, So dualities are always happening here in this observed reality that we're living. And so there is two parts to that. There's always, the paradoxes, the opposing sides. So you might be angry, but what's going to happen with that anger? Aren't you curious? Because usually something else happens. So this is very exciting. Every time things happen, it's not to bypass it. It's to see what happens next. It's exciting. And even to feel into it, it feels so alive. It feels good. And when it releases, it feels so good. So before, I'd get like some kind of sadness or something and just hold it in, ignore it, try to, bypass it and just hold it in, and it would just go down further and further and further. And then I just get fuller and fuller of all these emotions till you'd explode. And that's what would happen, and now that doesn't happen. When you feel into every emotion, it doesn't take very long. You feel into it, you recognize why it's happening, and it fades away. So if you're interested in learning about that, I recommend you go back into my videos and watch about emotions, because emotions are our warning signals that that we need to look at something. But this is exciting. We don't need to bypass anything in life. Life is exciting, and after everything, there is some new growth. Let's say that marriage did fall apart. That marriage could go two ways. That marriage where the guy was having the problems and he was kind of bypassing because he watched these non-duality videos. Well, let's say that he did spend more time with his wife and he tried to mend things. He could have a greater, stronger marriage if he went into his emotions and he felt that love and he tried to mend those things. But, if he just bypasses it, says, there's no self, there's nothing to do here. Well, what's going to happen there is that marriage is probably going to fall apart, and he's not going to be married anymore. But at the same time, something else is going to happen for him. He's going to find somebody else, or, he's going to live the single life for a while and maybe discover things through that journey. So wherever you go, whatever direction or choice you make, you're held. That's why this is so perfect. This is already here and now, and it's not like happening to you, which is another direct experience you have to experience to know. But that's why it feels also safe, because it's just like you're just flowing through life with essentially no real consequences for it, okay? But that's not the bypassing part. The bypassing part is when we haven't had a direct experience and you're just saying there's no self. So you're not taking responsibility for your emotions, for the parts of you that need healing. Because when you begin to do some inner work and heal some of those wounds, let's say that you've had some trauma in your background. Let's say that you've had mental health issues for something. Let's say, you know, somebody abused you, somebody hurt you, somebody did something to you, and you're still suffering from that. That needs to be mended, and that is part of your timeline. So every timeline has different things that happen. That's basically your course of life, and you do have to work on your inner work. You know, even if you hear, you know, non-dual speakers saying that there's nothing to do, you don't need to get mental health or anything like that, I don't believe that. You do have to get mental health. You do have to take care of yourself. Love yourself. This is about loving yourself, giving yourself all the unconditional love you deserve, giving everybody else all the unconditional love they deserve. And in doing so, you take care of your mental health. You take care of your physical health. You love yourself. You nourish yourself. You don't ignore it. You don't say, hey, I don't have to work on anything and I'm just going to ignore this whole issue I have. That's not okay, because that will continue to happen. That is just a mechanism of the human experience, of the human body. You do have to address those issues in this human experience, okay? I mean, essentially, yes, everything is perfect with what you are, what your true reality is, you know. But in this form, you do have to address all the issues of this human form. Like I say, go to the doctor, go get your mental health, go to the dentist, eat healthy foods, drink water. All of these things are essential. And the more that you become embodied, or the more that if you have a direct experience with this, the more that you realize that it becomes so clear how important health is. Health and wellness is literally it's seamless into what this all is. You know, when someone is in their health and wellness, that's what you want. That's what would happen. Once you have a shift, everything begins to get into wellness, okay? It just naturally starts to do that, and whether you want to or not. I think I had mentioned in a previous video that, you know, I had this shift and I've been eating like really healthy foods, pretty much all like, you know, just natural raw food diet. But I still held on to like this, almost like I would call it addiction to diet sodas. And I, you know, was used to, as a habit, of always drinking them, like in the evenings, after work, stuff like that, as a treat. And so that just continued after my shift. But more recently, as different shifts have started to happen with me, I can't drink Diet Coke anymore. I'll drink it and my stomach begins to get extremely upset. Like there's gas in there and it begins to like bloat almost instantly. So I don't even want to drink it. So I've completely stopped drinking that. When you begin to get back into wholeness, you begin to be able to see things more clearly. Now, the shift in itself will allow you to see things as clear as can be. But if you haven't had this, for one thing, you do need to take care of your body. A lot of the foods, a lot of the ingredients in most, you know, American diets and processed foods are extremely harmful. And the more you begin to clean your body and stay away for certain things, if you ever try to reintroduce those things, you begin to get sick. You can notice these things. And as I begin to get more and more intuitive and begin to pay more and more attention to, you know, my intuitive side, I can instantly feel when these chemicals or these bad kind of products enter my body. It doesn't feel good. You instantly know, like there's a poison just went in and you don't ever want to consume it again, no matter how tasty it is. Because I can tell you, I loved so many sweets, candies, all kinds of stuff, but sugar is also a very, very bad one. And so you can actually feel it. When it goes into your body, it can still taste good, but it's going to feel bad in your body. If you're not used to this, if you're on autopilot, if you're like I was on autopilot for my whole life up until 2 years ago. If you're on autopilot, you can eat all this junk food and you won't even notice anything. It's like you're not in touch with your feelings. That's the whole thing about the second point of spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing is like you're numb. You're numb to life. That's not this. That's not non-duality. That's not life. This is not being numb to life. This is being in connection with life. This is being in union with life. This is loving life. This is being like in a passionate relationship with life that you just like want to make love to it. It goes so deep. It goes so deep. There is nothing that you don't want to know about it. So with spiritual bypassing, you notice a bit of the numbing. A bit of those people are very numbed. And so when you're numbed like that, those are the people that are going through life on autopilot. They don't notice what the food's doing to them. They're not in tune. They're not in their intuition. They haven't developed intuition. They're not in tune with feeling how food is making them feel, or how people around them are making them feel, or certain environments are making them feel, or they're just not in tune with life, or how beautiful something is. They see it as, oh, it's just an everyday thing. Yet when you're cleared up, you see everything. So this is a very intimate, deep connection. So the problem with non-duality is spiritual bypassing, okay? And this isn't non-duality itself. I'm getting points about what I've seen with the problems of non-duality as they're being presented, let's say, through different teachers or students or whatnot, okay? So the first one was conceptual traps. The second one was spiritual bypassing. And the third one is neglecting individuality. So when you have a non-dual awakening, you do have the realization that there is no self. You do see through that, and you do see that you aren't this person. And that can be kind of put you kind of on shaky grounds, right? Because you begin to think, whoa, I'm not really this person. And if it's not felt with enough love or whatnot, it could be a little bit scary and probably a little bit destabilizing. And so one of the things that I do is I offer one-on-one sessions to help with embodiment. And what that does is kind of normalize and help normalize some of the strange things that begin to happen after an awakening. Because this isn't like normal stuff that begins to happen. It's stuff that people don't talk about. And when you do talk about these things, most typical people will think that you're crazy. A lot of people will end up in psychiatric hospitals, or they'll end up on psychiatric medications because people believe that they're having mental health issues. Now, as a mental health provider myself, I can recognize and differentiate between a mental health issue and an awakening. So, if you are experiencing issues with that, I do offer that. But anyhow, that's not about what I'm talking about really, but there is an importance in kind of recognizing that there is no self there, but at the same time, you are in this body and you are appearing as a human form. So while you are everything, well, I can feel sometimes like I'm this tree or like I'm this dog, and I can feel so like in connection with it and can see how that is. I also know that right now I'm in an individual form, which is a human form, a human female form. And the more that I begin to get to know this form, so this is after my shift. After this, I did realize that there was no self. A lot of things about me began to get a little bit more plain. Like after my shift, I kind of stopped wearing makeup a little bit. I started to dress more neutrally and stuff like that. And so I did notice that change. So I can see how that happens, where there's like this kind of like no more individuality. But as I began to embody that and kind of just see how the natural beauty was beautiful, I could also see how other types of beauty were beautiful. But I could also see that I would begin to like dive into myself to kind of get to know what this form was. And it began to be so beautiful to me. So parts of me that I used to not like or be ashamed of, I began to see so beautiful because I was seeing everything as beautiful. But now I could see those parts and see why they were beautiful and how they benefited me and how they continue to benefit me and how I need to integrate those parts of me into this form, because this is what this is. So things like getting to know yourself, your personality, your preferences, what you like, what you don't like, where you feel good, where you don't feel good at, being more in tune with the body itself. You know, what makes the body feel good? What makes the body not feel good? All of these things, the more that you get to know yourself, the more that you become more of an individual, really. But at the same time, there's no self there, and there's no problem in that, because that's how it's always been. It's not been any different ever. We've all been expressing a different expression of infinity at any time, but we are still just one, or nothing, right? If you go further, we're nothing. So it is that, okay? It is whatever form you're in that you have to live in, express, and love, and get to know. So right now, I'm in the season of getting to know this form, of getting to know different parts of it. You know, I kind of pretty much knew the personality, the preferences, but I'm getting to know now my boundaries, where I feel good, where I don't feel good, those energetic boundaries that I've been talking about in some other videos. You know, what kind of people I want to be around. You know, this is another thing. After you have a shift like this, the type of people that you can be around is going to kind of change. So finding and connecting with those people, getting to know this form and what its gifts are. Each form, each individual has gifts. You can see that there's people that sing, that dance, that paint. There's people that are engineers, mechanics. You know, there is just so much out there. You know, there's so many different things that you can be involved in and that you could be good at. You know, there's things that you could have been born with and you just know that you're good at. What I'm good at is working with people. Okay, so I work with people. I've always worked, you know, in social work, teaching, or mental health. I love helping people, and I love teaching, and I've always loved, you know, just sharing information with others that want to hear it. So putting information out here on YouTube where, you know, people that want to hear it will listen to it, and those that don't will pass on it, is beautiful to me. So you want to find out what your gifts are and begin to share them with the world. You don't have to wait till it's perfect. You know, I'm not doing this perfectly. I don't know about, you know, YouTube, or, you know, how to do these videos and make them, you know, so beautiful and all of this and that. I'm learning. I'm developing that. Okay. And that's part of the thing. If you want to do anything, you have to also enjoy the process. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You start where you're at. It's okay. You're all that there is anyway. So just play with life however you want. But anyhow, just kind of going back to that, neglecting individuality. That was the third point. So you don't want to neglect that. You want to realize that there's no self. You want to feel that, you know, but at the same time, you want to go back and chop wood, carry water, like everybody says, right? Just go back to life. That is what there is, and it's beautiful. Okay, so the next thing would be escaping responsibility. So the fourth problem with non-duality is escaping responsibility. So a lot of times what I find, especially more so with like one-on-one clients and people that are seeking advice and help, is that there's this kind of like passive energy with people that haven't exactly experienced a non-dual awakening, or maybe they've had a glimpse, because I've had a lot of people have shared with me that they've had glimpses, or they've had like a sort of a shift that has shifted their reality. And one of the things that I notice with them, especially if they're watching a lot of non-dual content on YouTube, not so much like this sort of thing, but maybe more of the radical non-duality, that they're very passive with life. And also they're very worried about the passivity of how they're being. So they'll come to me, and so I'm sharing this with y'all because I get to kind of get this inside knowledge when I speak to people about these things. And so they're actually like feeling that they don't need to do anything, like it's okay. They feel more allowing about that. They allow themselves to kind of not do anything. But at the same time, there's this stress inside of them about what's going to happen in the future. So not really trusting the future. And that's a problem, because it sounds to me like people are sort of just thinking that this is a concept of not doing anything. And it's not a concept of not doing anything or not taking responsibility for things. It's actually, it's not even a concept, but it's more of actually being more responsible for life. In a weird way, it's a way of being more responsible for life, because I'll just share my experience. After my non-dual awakening, there was a period of passivity. I'll call it a gap year. And I did make a video on that on my channel. And I took that time to kind of be in the state of being. And I really kind of just took that time to really spend a lot of time in nature, do a lot of creative efforts and things by myself, and just do journaling, contemplating things by myself. I spent a lot of time alone during that. So I can see how that can happen, and and that's part of the process for a lot of people. So there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're getting to the point of being really worried about life, then you're not at peace. And this shift brings that unsurpassing peace that is spoken of in the Bible and maybe other religious texts and things like that. It really does bring that unsurpassing peace. Even in those states of passivity, you know that you're taken care of. You know that just like the birds are taken care of every day, you are taken care of every day. And that's just how it is. But if you hadn't had that shift and you're just in the state of passivity and you're so stressed about your bills, about this, that's not okay. You know, if you feel that you are responsible and need to do something, then you need to do it. If you don't feel responsibility and you don't feel that you need to do anything, why is that? Okay. And so just kind of examining those things, because you could be going on a path that could be damaging to yourself. Actually, I've had people, make appointments and talk to me about the fact that, that they're scared of what are they going to do if they actually awaken or have this shift, because they still need to support their family, or what's going to happen to their children, or who's going to take care of their mother. The thing is, life goes on. This isn't a thing of having a shift and then just dropping all responsibilities. This is a shift in like your perception about what life is. But it doesn't change the fact that you have children to take care of. It doesn't change the fact that you have a mother that might need something. It doesn't change the fact that you have bills to pay. All of those things continue, unless you've completely like just left this world, all of those things continue. So there is this sense of kind of people being passive and kind of just not having, neglecting responsibilities is what I call it. And that's not the case. So going back to talking about my experience. So after my shift, there was a state of kind of passivity, but I was very comfortable in that space. I felt very held and I was supported by the universe. All my bills were paid. Everything was going well. So there was not that kind of issue. And then after that, after being a state of being, at least in my case, I went into a state of more like doing. Okay. So I began to want to do things. Okay. So after maybe 6 months to a year of this being state, I kind of began to transition a little bit more doing, and now doing a little bit more. So, and in that state, I kind of began to realize how reality is set up. And I began to have more visions and things that began to show me literally everything in reality. Okay, so I can literally just lucid dream and go into different spaces of reality, and just kind of seeing how you can kind of shift and move yourself along this reality. So in that case, I took total responsibility of everything. So anything that is to happen, anything that were to happen to me, whether it's good, bad, in whoever's sense, I take total responsibility for it. If it's existing in my existence, there is some level of responsibility of why it's happening. And so anything that's occurring and this may be triggering to a lot of people, but this is reality. Anything that is occurring in your reality is only because of you. Whether you're responsible for it or not really doesn't matter, because all there is just nothing. So there's really not like ultimately any kind of level of responsibility. But in the sense of the human form, there's a felt sense of responsibility, and I own that responsibility. I own all of that because I know and can see how reality is being created through me. So if it's being created through me, how can I not be responsible for it, So anything and everything that happens, I take complete and total responsibility for it. But ultimately knowing that that responsibility holds no weight. This is all a game. This is all an illusion. So this is such a paradox, and this is another reason why non-duality can be a problem, is misinterpretation. Non-duality can be very hard to speak about every time you say something, the next thing you say contradicts it. So it makes no sense unless you've had the direct experience. Then if you've had the direct experience, you're like, whoa, yeah, totally, that's how it is. But unless you've had that direct experience, it makes no sense and can be extremely confusing for the person. So unless you've had that direct experience, I don't know how much time I'd want to spend watching things that, are so contradicting. But that is the paradox of our reality. But until you've experienced it, it's just very confusing for the mind and the brain to grasp. Okay, so the last point is egoic inflation. So one thing that definitely I can see with people is this kind of sense of egoic inflation. So what ends up happening sometimes is that, and usually this is when people haven't had the direct experience. I haven't found anybody that has had a direct experience that is exhibiting this. So I'll say it's mostly probably people that have not had the direct experience. They will have this egoic sense that non-duality is all there is. That is the best thing ever. And like, there is no religion. All the other religions are junk. They're no good. Non-duality is the best there is. So they'll dismiss a lot of what other people say. So if you're speaking about, like, let's say I'm speaking about manifestation, they'll completely dismiss that. They'll say that's not non-duality. That's not real. Everything that is existing is just the same. It's all an illusion. Everything is a duality currently, like in your reality. So are you going to dismiss all of that? So look around you. So just because you're talking to your spouse, or you're reading a book, or you're doing this or that, are you going to dismiss that because that's a duality? Everything is appearing in dualities, okay? But what this is nothing and everything. And what I choose to do is focus more on everything. So because I focus more on everything, I can see how literally everything is included in this nothingness, okay? Everything is included. Buddhism, Islam, everything, even the worst of the worst that happens in this world is included. That is it. But you see so many times people getting upset and saying, oh, that person doesn't know what they're talking about, or this or that, So the spiritual superiority is something to look out for. So if you find yourself or anybody else around you kind of having this air of spiritual superiority, it's important that they kind of look into that they kind of examine that, because that's not what this is. Non-duality accepts everything, accepts anything and everything that comes into its existence. It is everything. It's infinity. It's already accepted it. And not just has it accepted it, it's loved it. It's loved Christianity. It's loved cults. It's loved everything. It's loved Native Americans. Everything about what's in this reality has been in this reality because it's been wanted. It's infinity, and it's love, unconditional love. It cannot be changed. So, for example, I don't have a problem with my husband being a Christian and going to church every Sunday. How is that a problem for me? Where he's at on his journey, that is his journey. That is where he is. I do not have to change him or convert him. I can see that everything is perfectly occurring as it is. I don't have to intervene in that. If he comes to me and asks me for some information, or he starts, looking into some other kind of religion, or, if he starts watching non-duality videos, that's his path. That's what's happening. But I don't have to impose myself on him or try to convert him. That is on him. And I'm not trying to convert him to anything, because this isn't a religion or anything. This is just reality. But, so many people seem to think that non-duality is like some superior religion, but it's not a religion. It has a spiritual nature to it, of course, but it's not a religion, and it's not the highest of anything. It's not even anything. It is everything, It's nothing and everything. So it is Judaism. It is, all these cults that do all these, we think, horrible things. It is all those things. So if you're experiencing and seeing that you're being very judgmental, or, for example, I see some people, on YouTube and stuff like that, and it hasn't happened on my channel, thankfully, but I see a lot of people kind of on the comment section, just being really ugly to each other, and, saying like that this person doesn't know what they're talking about, or, you know, this or that. How can you deny somebody's experience and then be on their channel? So if you are not in line or do not agree with them, move on to the next thing. This maybe something else will resonate with you. But there are so many individual journeys that can be so different in their experience. We just cannot deny one from the other. Okay, so everything is happening in perfect order. There is nothing to worry about here, and there's no need to be spiritual superiority or any of that stuff, or egoic superiority or any of that thing. Everything is okay. You don't need to be threatened by anything being better or worse than what you are. You are everything. There is no threat here. If you feel that way, you need to go in there and examine it and see what it is, because what you are is everything, and you can shift and move and learn and be in any situation and not have a problem with it. This is acceptance. This is radical love. This is unconditional love. That's what this is. It's not numbness. It's not just bypassing. It's not being a robot. It's life. Being alive, animating, doing things. You know, it's beautiful. So that's why I wanted to share with y'all the problems with non-duality, and kind of just bring awareness to that for everybody, because, you know, I don't subscribe to just one way of making videos of these radical non-dualities or this or that. I share my whole experience because this is it. Everything is it. So if anybody can take any bit of this information and, you know, use it, or it resonates with them in some way, then I think that is great. I think everybody that has something to share should share it. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you come back. If you like this video, give it a like. If you are new here and you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.